Beautiful.
Yep. So we will do a quick intro of everybody. Then we'll talk about what the guest experience ecosystem is and what we're going to be covering today. Then we're going to do a quick guidebook overview from Hostfully, as that's kind of one of the key components of Mike from NexAero's strategy. Then we'll talk about some of the StayFi features that enable Mike to generate more revenue, drive direct bookings, and then he'll actually go through and walk through his entire system himself and guide you through the products he's using that enable him to reach every single guest staying with them, do upsells. He can explain it much better than me. And then finally, we'll go over some of the techniques post-stay to help drive more direct bookings for your short-term rental business. Just a quick intro on StayFi if you're not familiar with us. StayFi is a really all-in-one marketing tool that helps you build your brand and drive more direct bookings to your short-term rental properties. So we not only help you collect data, not just from the booker, but everybody staying in your properties through Wi-Fi marketing. So things like splash pages to collect data when guests join the Wi-Fi. We also have all the tools you need to then drive more direct bookings post-stay, email marketing, text marketing, a homepage product that Mike's going to talk a lot about, so that overall we can make sure that no matter where your guests book, that while they're staying with you, they learn about your brand, learn who you are, and why they should come back and book directly with you for future stays. And I'll hand it over to Frank to give a little intro on Hostfully.
Yeah, thanks for having us today, Arthur. I'm Frank Bosi. I am the Senior Director of Partnerships here at Hostfully. I'm thrilled to be part of today's conversation with both Arthur and Mike and Troy and Marco. So just a quick thank you to StayFi for having me, but also for Mark, or to Mark, for really just showing us how Hostfully and StayFi work seamlessly together. And in an effort to really just build trust and to build on that guest experience. As many of you know, or probably don't know, I really enjoy talking about this topic because it gets right to the heart of what makes short-term rental special. It's not just about bookings, but it's specifically how about every piece, the property, the communication, the tech, the personal touch, and how it all connects to create this experience that guests actually remember and what they ultimately come back for. So here at Hostfully, what we focus on is making those handoffs as smooth as possible. So we help property managers manage everything from bookings and calendars to guest messaging and even upsells, which Mike will touch on a little bit later. And we do that all in one platform. But more importantly, we help connect the dots between each guest's touch point. This way, the experience feels seamless from start to finish, from tip to tail. And that's where partnerships like this come in handy. With StayFi, they help you collect the guest data and build the loyalty and help you with the marketing and promoting of your listing. And then we have NexAero and Mike, where they are able to showcase how these systems all come together in real life. So that ecosystem is what makes the difference between a good stay and a memorable one. And there's a huge difference in between those. For those of you that don't know Hostfully, I'm Frank Bosi. You can email me at frank@hostfully.com should you want to learn more. But Hostfully is an all-in-one property management platform. But we also have a digital guidebook platform, which we'll learn about more today. And from the guidebook and from the platform, you can manage bookings, calendars, pricing, guest communication, all in one place. Specifically with our digital guidebooks, you can share key info like local tips and upsell services. Not only are you able to share them and promote them, but you're able to upsell them in this beautiful, branded, professional way, which Mike will show you in a moment. And we integrate with Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, and many other channels and OTAs. This way, you're synced across the board, everywhere, real-time updates. And the platform scales easily whether you're managing one property or 100 properties. On the service side of Hostfully, as you can see here, we take great pride in our smooth onboarding. We have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week customer support, and we have a 97% satisfaction rate. So and these are coming from real life property managers worldwide. So every customer also gets a dedicated success manager, which ultimately helps you keep growing and scaling. So we don't just leave you at setup, but we're with you for the long haul. And what this means for you is relatively simple. is that you ultimately save hours each week through automation, you drive more revenue with upsells and direct bookings, but you also elevate your guest experience with personalized branded touches. And as we're going to mention with StayFi, great partner of ours, a great integration, and how it connects with partners like StayFi. So when a guest connects to Wi-Fi through StayFi, they can automatically direct to your Hostfully guidebook, and that's where they'll see your logo and your recommendations and your upsells. It really is this seamless experience that feels intentional instead of transactional. And with companies like NexAero and Mike, when they implemented these systems, they were able to create this entire guest journey that both focused on tech forward innovations, but also still at the same time felt human and sincere and genuine. And that's the sweet spot. Technology that amplifies hospitality, but we don't want it to replace hospitality. So I'm really looking forward to exploring how Mike and his team just keep guests engaged and how this combination of tech really supports the hospitality and short-term rental industry, but also how it builds these long-lasting connections. And yeah, that's about it. I tend to ramble, so feel free to cut me off whenever you want, Mike and Arthur. But then again, thanks again for having me, and I'm excited to dive into today's discussion.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Mike, do you want to introduce yourself and your business?
Yeah, thanks. And you can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just a quick intro, and I'll touch on a couple key points. I'll keep it short. I also tend to ramble like Frank, so we'll try to minimize
Why we
that.
get along so well, Mike.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So we are a growing property management short-term rental business. We've seen a lot of our growth this year. We started as a sort of a husband and wife team. So we split responsibilities pretty equally, and that I think has been part of our success. I will say we recognized very early in this journey as we sort of accidentally got into being property managers. We sort of started with single properties, with sort of the dream of having that vacation home. It very rapidly turned into sort of adding more and then folks approaching us. But I will say very early in this journey, we realized if we were going to scale this business, we had to align with folks like Hostfully and Frank and StayFi, Arthur, and your team. We really needed to have that level of standardization. And so as we did that and we really picked companies that were accessible, had strong onboarding processes, really easy to work with. And so you look at the PMS system and the guidebooks with Hostfully, the Wi-Fi marketing has become a corner piece of our marketing and our growth, our ability to sort of scale, and the email marketing. I'll say just for this slide to tie off, we really use the ability to consolidate systems. When you look at everything that Hostfully has and the other folks we work with, StayFi's given that ability to converge and consolidate those systems, and we'll show you that later. It is one of the things I'm really excited about, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I see here you're up to almost half of your bookings are coming directly. I'm just kind of curious, when you started out, were you primarily just listing on Airbnb? Was that your first channel that you were working with?
Yeah, and like anybody, well, I shouldn't say that. We did not come from this industry, so we're both strong-willed, and we made a decision we were going to figure this all out ourselves, which in hindsight, I think I told you, Frank, I'm going to start a talking head series on all the mistakes we made, which are numerous. So before we even got into um, doing other people's properties, we just sort of muddled our way through this. So yeah, Arthur, Airbnb, that's where you kind of start, right? They're the 8,000-pound gorilla. And then we added Verbo and a few others, and it just dawned on us very rapidly. My wife would start to ask, how do we make sure we don't double book? And I'm a bit of a techie, so I found myself trying to connect iCals, and it was a mess. And so, very rapidly we kind of figured out that we needed a better system, and we needed to figure out how to start to increase direct booking. But I'll tell you honestly, we didn't even think about direct bookings for probably a year. We were just dealing with so much of the startup. we thought direct bookings, to be honest with you, were going to be people that called us up because they had a great experience and they wanted to come back, right? It didn't dawn on us until I found you guys through the Hostfully integration and really got excited about, all the data we were missing on every stay. Sorry, I'll just wrap with this. For the first probably couple of years, we were collecting data at the rate of one person per stay. Okay, it was a really slow slope on the CRM data collection. We didn't even realize what we were missing. When we finally sort of connected the dots, and that was with a lot of help from Hostfully, and then, I actually was able to reach out to Arthur and talk to his team, which I was amazed by. But when we started connecting those dots, that we could collect, I mean, we have a property that can sleep 22 people, and it will consistently have 30 and 40 and sometimes even events at 50. When it dawned on us that we could collect all 50 emails in one stay, we went from collecting 1 and 2 bits of data, and you live and die by data, right? We went from that 1 or 2 to 30 and 40, and so the slope on the curve was amazing. So does that answer your question, Arthur? Sorry.
No, totally. And that is definitely the evolution we see with most either owners or property managers is, especially if they're started their business in the last 5 to 10 years, is start on Airbnb, expand to other channels, and then add direct bookings to really diversify. And so that's just kind of the natural evolution we see most professional operators going through. We can talk more about that. I feel like you touched along a lot of these things, but is there anything else you wanted to add about kind of how you got to where you are today?
I would probably, for this slide, I think I'll just emphasize that we realized, like I said, a year in or so, that we really needed to have a strategy to get from 10 or 0% to maybe 20% direct return folks. We needed a strategy to get to first 50%, which we're touching on, and then we really want to be able to get to that. That is the panacea goal, right? We want to get to 80%. That would be pretty incredible. And look, Airbnb, Vrbo, Google, whoever, they have a purpose, right? And they do a good job in getting that. But there's a lot of change going on in the industry right now. And the change is probably the right thing for Airbnb, but it's not always the right thing for us as hosts. And so you got to have a strategy. So that's a key point. And then we realized very early on that we had to pivot to standardization. We had to have a way to take these systems and standardize them. And then we had to have a way to execute the strategy I'm talking about to drive direct bookings. And so if you're going to grow, and I think most people on the call know this, or maybe I've learned it by, sort of hard knocks, but if you wait to standardize, if you don't just do it, you will really struggle when you start to get to 20, 30, 40 properties, whatever. And there's a couple of those inflection points. So working with folks like Hostfully and StayFi, I mention them because they become such a part of our portfolio, our tools, but you want to standardize early, right? Okay, thanks, Arthur.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, since you talk about shifting from being an owner operator to a property manager, I'm kind of curious, how has the direct booking strategy or the Hostfully platform, do you feel like that's given you an advantage in terms of acquiring new homeowners? Like, how do you feel like you're able to differentiate to owners to keep growing and outcompeting other property managers in your markets?
That's a great question. Most of our homeowners are finding us because of things we're doing, some of them directly with StayFi and Hostfully. We've been able to dramatically increase our marketing through things like email campaigns, which drives traffic and SEO sort of optimization. But I will tell you, most of the owners we sit down who have had experiences with property managers or interviewing, they're a bit surprised when they see our small boutique company, myself and Tammy, and they see the things we're doing compared to the massive companies out there that are touching on the 100 to 500 properties. I mean, the fact that we're managing a database, we have a proper CRM, right? We're using systems and hardware to collect data. I think when they see that and they see we actually have a direct booking strategy, And then most of them understand or we explain it and they're like, oh, you can make this much more, right? I think that's been a real leg up for us to answer your question in terms of, I think people feel really good that they can work with a small boutique company that listens. We do customer success meetings every month. They're really excited they can work with someone like that, but get the big company systems. I mean, Hostfully, we could scale to hundreds of properties, right? We haven't done that yet, but we can, and that's the point, and they see it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. Especially as we see so much consolidation in the industry where people are operating in multiple markets, there is more and more opportunity for, I call it mid-size operators to really excel and become market leaders because they can execute at a level and build homeowner relationships that you just aren't possible with people that have 500, 1,000 listings under management. And that's so important.
Yeah, I will just, if you don't mind, one other quick point. You really have to figure out, this is all about guest experience and ecosystem, right? And you live and die by guest experience and reviews. And that's just a reality. I will say the simpler you can make the guest experience, and we're going to touch on this later as Frank and Arthur pointed out, the simpler, the more streamlined, the more options that you give guests. And we're going to touch on this with the homepage and what we call the concierge portal. And I'll talk about this later, Arthur, because that's what it's become for us. Giving guests that simplified, converging, single source resource. We've gone from very aggravated guests, and I'm getting on future, sort of talking points, but it's really about simplifying the guest experience so they really feel like they're being taken care of and it's easy. And these systems have helped us do that.
So now that we're kind of moving on to the guest experience, why don't you just describe kind of layout for someone who makes a booking with you, kind of what does the process look like communication wise, and kind of what information are they receiving as they go along in that journey?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work again as we grow in standardization. So we just went through an entire exercise where we basically standardized our booking process, our reservation confirmation process, and we now have the opportunity to build that around what we just talked about, the ecosystem. So when you book with us, and we do a little extra, folks, so I'll warn you, when you book with us, two things, what you get a message right away. We've rewritten it, standardized, and it says two things. We need you to do your pre-arrival form, right? Because we love that form. There are only 2 companies out there that do it, but we do that. That allows us to collect key information and an ID. And in our state and in some of the areas here, you have to collect IDs. It's actually a code now. So that gives us a very professional way to do it. The second thing we do is we have everybody sign a short-term contract. So we have integrated a standard DocuSign. It's a sign now thing. Hostfully has their own thing, but we've done that. Once people get that done, that's part of our onboarding. And we say very clearly in our messaging that you have to do these. So it's on Airbnb, all those. And again, Hostfully gives you a centralized place to put all that information in and push it out to all the platforms. So we're covered. What immediately happens, Arthur, is a message triggers as soon as they do their pre-arrival, and it sends out with a great little thank you for getting this done. Please find your concierge guest portal link here, right? We send out a bunch of messages. Now we send out one message. We say, you can go to this portal, you can ask for early check-ins, you can book experiences, you can buy damage insurance. We're going to show you that later, and then there's all the other standard messaging, but all of the messaging that goes out now, we literally have gotten rid of all the links. Everything points back to the homepage, or what we call the concierge portal. It has grossly simplified. So when we bring a new property on now, we just copy all that in Hostfully, and it's great because StayFi is integrated. We just use variables, right? So it's really quick to put all that in. It saves us a ton of time. Sorry, does that kind of help?
Yes, no, it's totally. So just everyone knows, we'll show you the homepage is one of the products within StayFi. It's where guest goes after they log into the Wi-Fi, but you can really use it for many different purposes, like Mike was saying. And we'll show you that in a second, so it will all become clear. So, yeah, so you can see here we have kind of like two different items here. On the left, this is what the StayFi homepage looks like. So it is a flexible website where you can place all the essential links by property, and it will be dynamic by property as well. So different images, different buttons, and it's by default where we take guests after they log into the Wi-Fi. And then of course you can also send it as a page at any other point in the experience. So Mike is very smartly leveraging this prior to the stay, and that's where he will be sending things like early check-in, etc. This is not a fully fledged guidebook product. So obviously Hostfully has a great guidebook product, which Frank can talk about in a second. But within here, you can then link to the guidebook product for each home. And that's going to give you that next level of information, things like local recommendations, how to operate the outdoor grill, the pool heater, all those things. So maybe you want to talk a little bit, Frank, about the guidebook product within Hostfully.
Yeah, so with the guidebook, and I mean, this was such a great overview on how all these guest experience tools work together. And I think what's really exciting is that when you combine platforms like StayFi and Hostfully, you start creating this very organic, connected guest journey that just feels effortless from the guest perspective. So with Hostfully's guidebooks, those are one of those simple ideas that completely change the guest experience. They're mobile friendly. They're really easy to access because we just provide a URL link, and we do not require an app. So guests can open them on any device, essentially, and instantly find everything that they need, all in one clean, professional, branded place. And even if you're not using Hostfully as your property management software, no judgments. But what you can do with the guidebook is, because it's a link, you can include it in your automated communication using your preferred property management software. And the guest can easily access all the information. But beyond that convenience, the guidebooks are a really great way to elevate your brand. So as Mike and NexAero team, he and his wife are fantastic and they're really good at this. You can easily customize your guidebook with your logo, your branded colors, your images. This way, every interaction just feels professional and consistent. And I believe the next slide may highlight the guidebook more in depth, but anytime you make an edit, every guidebook across your portfolio updates automatically. So one simple source of truth that's always current, and you can update it seamlessly. And then of course there's upsell opportunities, which I can talk about a little bit later.
And I'll just mention the one thing that Mike talked about is not neglecting your non-booking guests. And this also applies to things like your Hostfully guidebook, right? So you've invested in this digital product, you have a great guidebook, but in pre-arrival messaging through Hostfully or any property management software, you're just talking to the booker. And you are kind of counting on the booker to take this guidebook and share with everyone else in the reservation, which you can't really depend on, right? It may happen sometimes, it may not happen sometimes. The great thing about when you had StayFi into the mix is that when the guests arrive and log into the Wi-Fi for the first time, no matter if they've gotten any communication in the past, this might be their first touch point with your brand, right? Because you've been dealing with the booker, then the 8 people arrive at the home, they log into the Wi-Fi for the first time. This will be the first time they see your brand and kind of start building the concept in their mind. They're not staying at a generic Airbnb. And the second thing is any products or digital experiences you've invested in, now you can market those to the non-booking guests. So it's going to make and extend the value of a product like the Hostfully Guidebook, because now it's going to be accessible to everybody staying there right at the touch of their fingers. And you can do things even like through StayFi, text to every guest the link to the guidebook right after they log in, all those kinds of things. And then within the guidebook, Mike will show you in a minute, we also have upsell partners that are free to use within the product as well. The Host and Viator are 2 of them that Mike's using. And so he'll show you how he's leveraging those tools as well in a second.
Yeah, so with the Hostfully guidebook, I kind of already gave my spiel, mainly how Mike uses it. But ultimately, so there's two ways that the guidebook increases your guest experience. But another opportunity that you can have is generating new revenue opportunities. So through Hostfully's partnership, we are working on Hostco partnership, which I'm really excited to unofficially announce. You heard it here, folks. But we also have a partnership with Viator. And Viator, the great thing is property managers can earn commission on tours and experiences that guests book directly through their guidebook. And I believe it's like 8% commission. So if somebody purchases something on Viator for $100, you just made $8. It costs nothing to sign up for Viator, and it costs nothing to integrate Viator into your guidebook. So you're already in the green. You're already seeing that ROI from the first booking. So instead of sending guests off to random sites, you're curating this this local experience while adding an additional stream of income. Super seamless, and it doesn't really impact the guest as much. You can also use the same space within our guidebooks to promote your own upsells. So if you have late checkouts, mid-stay cleans, golf cart rental, equipment rental in general, anything else that adds value. So it's a smooth, again, a very guest-friendly way to increase revenue without the property manager feeling salesy or pushy. And of course, these guidebooks, as mentioned, fit perfectly into the ecosystem that we've been talking about. And ultimately, Hostfully guidebooks will help you communicate better. Again, you're going to look more professional. And then with those two, you're going to drive more revenue organically. While at the same time, you're giving guests this modern self-serve experience that they're really coming to expect at this point.
Now I'll just touch on the homepage, and I think one thing to keep in mind is these tools all work synergistically together. So I know there may seem like there are some overlapping features, but really they're totally meant for, I'd say, kind of different purposes. So yes, you can do upsells through the homepage in StayFi. You can also do the guidebook. You can link to the guidebook from the homepage. But as I'm sure Mike can tell us, like, it will take several impressions with a guest, probably several times sending this information, and every single time you're going to marginally increase the likelihood the guest will engage with the product, right? So don't just assume because you've sent a message one time, the person has read it and clicked through it. I think Mike said earlier in our kind of like pre-meeting get together that, guests don't always read things, and I'm sure people have that general experience. So don't be afraid to send similar messages multiple times, because it might take several impressions before somebody comes in and actually looks at what you have to offer. So for the homepage, it's totally customizable. It's really it's very similar to if you've ever used like Linktree or one of those products, where it's just a customizable page where you can list unique buttons by listing. And then I think the best thing will be actually for Mike to go in and actually show his experience. And this is just a preview of what it looks like. So on the left here, you can see what the homepage looks like for Mike when you arrive at a property or what he's sending in advance. So we have book the property again, we have the guidebook, we have local attractions, and then we have all these custom links that he's using as well that work fantastically. And then on the right here, you can see the Hostfully guidebook once the guest clicks in there as well. Do you want to add anything here, Mike?
Yeah, and then if you're okay, I'll share my screen and do a bit of a live demo. I think a couple things, and I didn't realize this at first. It took a lot of sort of bugging Arthur and his team to understand the breadth of capability. When we started, like most folks, we just got the basics up that StayFi offered, and we were good with that. Once we started realizing, as I talked earlier, about converging systems, creating that simplified guest messaging. Once they actually showed me how you could set this up, it was like opening Pandora's box. I will tell you, Arthur will show this more. I'm not going to get into this, but they have made it, StayFi has made it incredibly easy to add additional things. And you're sort of seeing the list to the left there, what we call our concierge portal. We've started adding all kinds of stuff and branding it. It's incredibly easy. But what you're going to see is a lot of links that go right into the guidebook. You'll see links that take you right to a Hostco store. We literally have created links that'll take you to a Trails page. This stuff, once you realize how simple it is incredibly easy to build these. And, again, it's easy for me to get excited about this because it's given us that next level sort of big company experience. But it is just incredibly easy to build out these sort of branded experiences here. So I'm going to go ahead while I start to share. The only thing I'll tell you is because we work with StayFi on the Wi-Fi, and this is a huge deal because it's made it incredibly simple for us to push Wi-Fi out to all of the guests. Tell me when you can see my screen. Is that coming through?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. I will tell you now, it is incredibly simple for us to add the Wi-Fi that we've standardized working with Arthur and his team. And I'll let you talk more if there's time about the additional hardware like the Express now, but it is very simple for us to push out the same Wi-Fi to every property now, right? We do that through Hostfully and all that. But this is the interface here with StayFi. I'm just going to jump into one of our pages. Yep, it's going to make me log in, so I'll skip that. But what you just saw, well, I actually hit the wrong thing. Sorry. Let's go to the home page. So here's the home page. Like anybody would want to, and as Arthur mentioned, we immediately want to get our brand out there, and we want people to have the opportunity to book again. Now, keep in mind, you can arrange these any way you want. We change these regularly based on feedback. We add things to these regularly, right? We just added the fact that we're starting to offer real estate services, right? But you'll see a host of book again, visit your website, your stay, your store, local made simple. This is actually Hostco. So if I go in here, it takes us to Hostco, where we can buy services or experiences. But rather than say Hostco, we made a decision that we would brand it a little differently, right? So part of the concierge experience is people are curious what that means. They go in. We've got our guidebooks running here. So these take folks right into the guidebooks. And you can see how simple that was, right? It's one converging, simplified page they go to. That's how simple it is. Great local eats. Everybody wants to know where to go. Well, guess what? That takes us, Frank, right to the Hostfully guidebook, right to places to eat. It is really easy to go into your guidebooks, grab the direct links, places to eat, and then go load that into the bulk editing page in StayFi. That was a game changer, Arthur. When you guys rolled out that bulk, I can just go through every page and it's like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, right? That was nice. And you folks will see more of that. Local hiking and mountain biking. Again, here's an example where we actually tied to a third-party AllTrails. So it's free. You can go out, you basically search in your area, get the link, drop it in. Now people can see all these great trails up in northern Arizona. Okay. And if you're looking to book with us, we'll give you a discount. You get this anyway. AI planners. People love this now. Everybody's using some form of AI now. So you hit this, it takes you into the AI planner, Frank. And I know Hostfully is releasing updated versions of this. So this is going to get more and more powerful as I understand. But what a great tool when you want to just play around with things to do and then print it out. So again, right to the guidebook. You can do this with other services, right? We got our property management in here. I'll just show real quick. That just takes you to our website. People can fill in our form. What we're doing now is we're pushing, if people really like coming up and want to buy your own home, we now take them to a real estate page and we help them down here. NexAero home automation. This is devices. Hostfully has launched a wonderful service called Devices. We use it at every property. It gives us the ability to program locks, turn on lights, open garage doors. It's fully built in, so when the guest gets here, all they have to do is click on this, and it takes you to a web-based access my property. This is phenomenal. I will say, half our guests use this, half don't. But for those that use it, they love the fact that they can preheat the home before they get there or unlock it for someone that got there late. Super easy. Early check-ins. This is our number one request, folks. Early check-ins. We've put it right on the portal, right on the homepage, because now all you have to do is click this, takes you right to the early check-in, they fill it in. But this is really important because we have to approve it. So now we can check the schedule, make sure we don't have a hard turn. My partner and wife handles all that, and it gives her the visibility to work with the cleaning crew. If we decide to approve it, then we currently go and reprogram the lock, Frank. We set a new time. As I understand it, talking to, it was either you or Bryce, that integration's coming, and that's through Hostco. So as soon as you approve 1, 2, 3 hours, in future theory, the lock programming time changes automatically. For us, everything is about automation. I don't care whether it's systems, processes, order intake. We want to touch as little as we have to with systems. So this gives us one more ability. We also send this to our cleaner, right? So now you have a way to send to the cleaner, and they know that they just either will approve it or not. I'll skip that one, late checkout. And then we have a relationship with Truvy. So this one's really simple too. They can go in and they can choose to buy like damage insurance. So, and while I'm here, you can see we are using Hostco. You can use any service you want, but we use Hostco and we add things to this. So again, here's another customizable sort of service that you can link through the StayFi resource page. I mean, I guess the sort of wrap here, I'm only touching on what we're doing. You have the ability to tailor this any way that works for your business, and you can change it literally daily. And you can mix it up. You can take guest input. I mean, hell, you could put a review in here. You could drop a little tile here and say, give me a Google review, right? We haven't done that yet because it's sometimes a double-edged sword, but you could do it, right? So this is where StayFi has given us the ability to grossly simplify what are more and more systems. Hostco, Hostfully, Viator. I mean, I didn't show you, but this right here, where'd it go? Manual, great local.
I don't think you have it for this property.
Yeah, I have to go check. I might have accidentally turned it off, but there is a Viator link in here. So I was messing with this yesterday, so I may have turned it off. But there's a great thing, book your experience. Now it'll literally take me a minute to go fix it. Okay, but we have Viator linked in here also. No, I think I'll stop there. Anything, Arthur or Frank, you want me to hit on here?
No, I think it's fantastic. And I think the key thing to know is that this page, if you go back to the StayFi portal, it's available as a static link. And so you can send that link to your guests through the Hostfully pre-arrival messaging. And then you also know that every guest, when they arrive at the property, will then get directed to the homepage after they log into the Wi-Fi for the first time. So we're expanding just from the booker to everybody else that's staying there.
That's exactly right. And I noticed as I was looking at this, usually we have the property address turned on. I may have been working inadvertently turned it off. Turn it on, now the property address turns up. This is important because when people ask us, what's the address? We have two possible responses. Wait for the 3-day messaging or go to your concierge guest portal. This is saved. My wife does a lot of the, our partner, she does a lot of the front end messaging, right? I'm kind of the back end systems guy. This makes life so much easier. Here's your link, right? It's literally a variable, or we have a custom message, but we just send it out and they're like, oh, okay. Oh, and there's a guidebook here also, or there's a house manual, right? I didn't even touch on the extent of things, Frank, we've put in the guidebook now, because we're also customizing that, right? So we've done all kinds of fun things around pub tours and crawls. And I will show you one thing real quick, but if you go to the guidebook, super easy to go in. Our number one problem is Roku's. Roku TVs losing Wi-Fi. Well, you click on this. Hi folks, this is a quick tutorial on resetting the Roku if there's any problems. There you go. So we give them a video. Go check out the video on how to fix your Roku TV. Okay, it's the bane of our existence, TVs. And why? Anyway, so just one more example how all of these tools are customizable and how you can link them all through the homepage. Okay.
Yeah, and just building on the guest experience, especially with the videos, it's really cool when a guest checks in and has an issue, whether it's a Roku or the fireplace, but it's
Right.
actually Mike who has been talking to them for 6 months prior while they made their reservation, to have Mike
Mhm.
show them via video how to use the Roku just adds this just level of personalization there. It's not like something you get off YouTube. You can easily get a Roku tutorial, but it's specific to that TV and that issue, that
Mhm.
listing that Mike manages. So it definitely adds this whole nother level of guest enhancement to their experience. So I love the video portion. I love that you did it yourself.
And it's super easy. iPhone, send it to yourself, load it onto YouTube, and get an embedded link, and you're done. This is the one Arthur was talking about. So we send out the Wi-Fi, but you get it through text. We use the text messaging with StayFi, but we also drop it in as a common card, Frank. So they're all the same now because we're using StayFi, right? Super easy. They're all the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and because it's a URL link, if they call you at 11 o'clock at night asking you, how to turn the AC on or how to turn the Roku on, you don't have to spend 30 minutes on the phone with them while they try to figure it out. You send them the URL link, you have the video, and you're golden from there on out. So it definitely saves you a lot of time and headache on the property manager side and on the guest side as well.
I think we've built that now into a non-trigger message in Hostfully. So we just pull it up and send it because
Yeah.
it's that regular, sadly. Okay, I can stop sharing if we're good.
Yeah, because now we are just going to pivot from, we've talked a lot about the guest experience, and now we're going to move to your guests have had a great experience. How are we going to then make sure that they remember your brand and either refer you to a friend or family to book your listings or to come back and book again themselves, not through an OTA? So we'll just talk a little bit first about kind of like why should you do direct bookings to begin with. I'm sure everybody is aware, Airbnb just changed to a host only fee of 15%, which means all the revenue is coming out of your pocket. So there's already the clear benefit if you can split the savings with yourself and the guest, where both sides can save money if they do a direct booking, whether it's booking Vrbo, Airbnb, etc. When you have a direct booking, you have more ability to communicate with guests and send them valuable information prior to the stay. So with, Airbnb or Vrbo, you're limiting yourself to messaging within their ecosystem. When you get a direct booking, you can email, text, call, whatever you'd like. And of course, there's just diversification is really valuable in this industry because there are always risks of being platform dependent. Obviously Airbnb has a history or reputation of being very guest friendly when it comes to complaints, when it comes to disputes with hosts and owners. And obviously, if you have direct bookings, you're much more in power of controlling what the terms are of the stay, what the refund policy is, what the cancellation policy is, all of that you have control over. And then if you get penalized on a platform or your ranking goes down or they change the algorithm so you're getting less bookings, if you're not solely dependent on one channel for the vast majority of your revenue, your business will be more resilient in the long term. And then so like, what do you need to do to start generating direct bookings? The reason we started StayFi is really like we saw the lowest hanging fruit for direct bookings are people that have stayed and loved your properties, stayed in and loved your properties before, because it's very hard when guests have very high trust with OTAs and they are not aware of vacation rental brands, even the largest brands. No one's heard of Avantstay, Vacasa, Casago, even if they have thousands of properties, right? These are not household names like Airbnb. It's hard to get a net new guest to book directly with you for the first time. But once they've stayed and loved your property, it's much, much easier to convince them to come back and book directly with you and share those benefits with those guests over time. I'll just show quickly because I already saw we had a question about what the StayFi experience looks like. Mike showed you a little bit of what the homepage looks like, but just in general, guests arrive at properties, they select the network, they have to enter in their name, email, phone number if you'd like, or other information like birthday. Then they get taken to that homepage. And then through the StayFi marketing tools via email, via text, you can reshare this homepage, the Hostfully guidebook, automatically with guests. So we're doing marketing automation right when we collect their information. And then, of course, you can follow up with them with more marketing in the future. Within StayFi 2, which Mike uses as well, is we have our own email marketing product. So we have something that is a substitute for a MailChimp, which is what we see most commonly used in the space, but really any other email marketing tool. And what's great is we're the only email tool that's built specifically for vacation rentals. And the big difference between this messaging and what you're doing in Hostfully is all the transactional messaging with the booker to arrange all the details about that stay. After they stay with you, you can't continue to message them, through the Airbnb platform after a certain amount of time, right? So this is when we want to transition them to post-stay marketing, where we're sending newsletters, content, things like that, to keep up your brand in their mind so that when they want to book again, they remember who you are. And through StayFi, we have all these templates that are built for vacation rentals. So unlike a generic tool like MailChimp, where it's just a bunch of different templates for a bunch of different industries, everything is built for vacation rentals. And because we integrate with Hostfully, when you connect your Hostfully account to StayFi, we actually look through all your bookings in Hostfully, find any real emails you've been collecting from guests already, and we will automatically import those for marketing as well. So we will basically mine your Hostfully for any usable marketing data and bring that into our email tool as well. So if you get started with StayFi, you probably already have a bunch of emails that you can already use in Hostfully, especially if you've been using those pre-arrival forms and collecting emails from the booker, no matter even if they book through Airbnb. And then Mike, kind of give me your thoughts on, I know I kind of give overall kind of why people are moving to direct bookings, but kind of like what were the main advantages you saw and what benefits have you seen for your own business?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious benefit that, excuse me, we can share the savings of the OTA commissions with the guests. And then I think because we control the interface more, the communication, I think it's a much easier discussion. Even when, I'll give you the best example, when guests want to book our place and we're very limited to platform discussion, sometimes they just want to have a phone call and we can't do it, right? And if you try to do it, then Airbnb is at it, pretty powerful AI now. They will immediately flag you. And you get flagged too many times, you can literally be put on probation, or you can get delisted for a week or 2 weeks. So I really like the reason we're driving to OTAs is share the savings. It's a more personal discussion with the guest to start the guest experience. People contact us through the website, things like that. I'll also say, because of all these campaigns, Arthur, we see a significant increase in site activity. So we may not always get a ton of bookings, but we get a lot of site activity when we send those out, and then we get questions. I mean, that's a few things. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to keep in mind when it comes to email marketing strategy. In marketing terms, we would say like people are not in market to purchase a vacation rental stay very often. Like how many days of the year are you planning a stay at a vacation rental? But the key thing about emails is that by sending an email at least once a month to your guest database, it's kind of like a postcard that's keeping the brand top of mind so that when they are in market, they remember to come check your website because they're going to do their due diligence. Usually whenever they're planning a trip, they're going to go to Airbnb, they're going to go to Vrbo. And as long as you're in that consideration set of like, I'm going to go to NexAero and I'm going to go either dig up the email or just go now directly. So like if you send emails, you will get more direct traffic because people will remember your name and Google you or just go directly to your website. Then they will compare you to what they find in OTAs, and they may even compare you to your own listings in OTAs. And as long as you have the right pricing strategy in place, they will see that savings benefit. So it's not so much the expectation shouldn't be, I'm going to send an email and get 10 bookings click through from that email. is that if you send emails consistently, you will see your share of direct bookings go up because more and more people are going to remember your brand when it comes time to book direct and either refer you or go to your website directly. So sending emails consistently, you don't just get more traffic from emails, you'll start to see more traffic from organic and from direct because people are more likely to remember your brand when they are ready to book. And these are just some of the campaigns that Mike has created through StayFi. So on the left here, this is the post-departure automation. So we kind of have two types of campaigns. We have automation campaigns. So those are triggered based on an event. So one day post-departure, for instance, we will send this email to everyone that stayed in your property. And then we have newsletters, which are one-off emails. And they're typically more around topical items, things like Halloween here, things like we launched a new property. And so the great things about automations is we have these pre-built campaigns. So welcome, post-departure, stay anniversary. And once you turn those on, they're going to go out to everybody no matter what. So if you forget to send an email this month, you know that you're covered because everyone's been receiving at least some content. And then, of course, when you layer in great seasonal or monthly content in a newsletter, it's just going to really compound those effects. So I don't know, Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about the kind of campaigns you've been sending? Because I think these are pretty cool on the right here.
Yeah, just a little less about that, a little more about, we had no experience with this, Arthur, zero. And I don't do these, my wife and partner does. And we both, again, I've done maybe one or two. She does all these. Your tools, the system, StayFi system, has allowed us to just do it. And we're not letting perfection get in the way of progress. So these have gotten better and better. And now we're using great tools like we're going to send out a campaign for properties that are open in the next 2 weeks. Well, because of the integration between StayFi and Hostfully, it'll show us the properties, click, 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 you tick a box. We write some of this up. We either write it ourselves or we use ChatGPT. These have gotten better and better, but I can't emphasize enough, you don't even have to have experience with this. StayFi has made it so simple for us and Tammy. She literally is using the templates. Now we're starting to build our own. It links to the properties directly. So we used to use HubSpot. It was a pain because we were cutting and pasting pictures and it was very difficult. So, I mean, I'll just say we send these out on the week now, and then we've got all the automated messaging running also.
Yeah, I'll just point here on the left, like the open rate on your post-departure email is above 40%, which is crazy. Just to give people average open rates for email campaigns and hospitality is going to be like 15 to 20%. So you can see here 42, 35% for this campaign on the right. So this is a very high levels of engagement, which means that people really want to hear from Mike and they find value in his content, which is a great sign. And then, yes, I'll just talk quickly. One thing that Mike mentioned that's really powerful is we don't have an email here that shows it, but we do have an email within StayFi where, thanks to our Hostfully integration, you can pick a window of time, and then we will go look in Hostfully and find all the properties in that window that are still bookable. Because when you're on the smaller side, one thing that can be frustrating for guests is you send out an email, you put your best, most liked property in the email, people click on it, they go there, it's booked for the next 6 months. That just leads to disappointment, right? So we want to align the marketing with the bookable inventory because that way you can have the exact dates, the exact properties, and people will go there and they can book it right away. It's great for both last minute campaigns. So like what's available this weekend, if you have a lot of drive-to market guests, you can do that. Or the flip side, you can do things like show what's available for very high demand times of years very far in advance. So you could be, oh, these are our last 3 homes for July 4th next year. So you better book them now and you better book them directly. Right? So you can kind of use it both ways. I think last minute is great, but then also sending and making sure you secure your highest demand times of year directly very far in advance are 2 of the ways that we see people using that tool. And I'll just quickly add here, Mike is a great example of a StayFi user. He's very kind of doing things that I'd say like at the highest level of a lot of our customers in terms of really engaging with the tools. But we see people who have success from all the way from having 1 property to having hundreds of properties, right? So the tool really works at any level of size. The customer in the upper right here, this is just one unique mill property in the Czech Republic, and they are already getting 80% of their bookings directly. And then we have close people like Cozy who have hundreds of properties, and started with StayFi, completely dependent on Airbnb and Vrbo, are now getting over 30% of their bookings direct. So we really can, no matter where you are in your vacation rental journey, we can slot into your tech stack and start building your direct channel, whether you're at 0% today or at 80% today. We can definitely help you there. And then, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about Hostfully at the end here, Frank?
Yeah, we are 1 minute past, so I'll make it quick. But ultimately, these are all of our wonderful case studies that we have. You can go to hostfully.com case studies and read through all of them. We have one mid-sized property manager. They scale from 15 to 75 properties in just 7 months, just simply by leveraging Hostfully's automation. These are, again, are a few, but the best example is right here with Mike, Tammy, and the NexAero team. They've really built an incredible model that ties all of this together. Like you mentioned, Arthur, the guest communication through StayFi, the automation through Hostfully, while keeping that human touch. And that's what makes Mike's properties stand out. So ultimately, NexAero's results just speak for themselves. I mean, Mike and Tammy have experienced, they've the sustained growth, the continuous growth, the consistent guest satisfaction, and ultimately just the system that keeps guests coming back again and again, because solely focused on how to leverage their software and how to have it work together to benefit the guests, but at the same time benefiting themselves. So it's just a great example of what's possible when the tools, the data, and the guest experience just all work in sync. So yeah, and again, top of the hour, just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you, Arthur, Mike, Troy, Marcos, for having me today.
Yes, thanks everybody. Thank you, Mike. And like I mentioned before, we will publish this on the StayFi YouTube channel, and we will send it out to all the registrants and in our newsletter. So if there's any part you want to watch again, you can, of course, go ahead and do that. And thanks again, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their week. So thanks again, Mike. Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, y'all.